Well, howdy there. Welcome to Ash Lake. I love hanging out down here. Pretty much the most chill spot in all of Lordran. Kick off my flip-flops and squish my feet around in the sand. Not really many other places around here where you can do that. I was just about to talk about the top 10 scariest things that you can encounter in Dark Souls. Before starting the list, the skeleton babies in the Tomb of the Giants, not scary. You farm the things for humanity and kill 10 of them in a single swing. Just in case you were wondering, they're not even on the list. They're not even an honorable mention. Let's get on with the list. Number 10, Black Knights. Now the Black Knight is the first really tough enemy that you come up against in Dark Souls. Most of us probably have a similar experience where we saw that first Black Knight in the Undead Burg, thought we were gonna be cute and sneak up on him, and then he proceeded to beat the living piss out of us. The reason that they're not higher on the list is because even at a very low level, you can learn how to circle strafe and cheese these guys, and then later in the game, they don't provide that much resistance, but there's that one guy in the tower in the Undead Parish. It's kind of a tough fight. Number 9, the Chaos Eaters. The Chaos Eaters really stand out. There's pretty much nothing else in the entire game quite as disgusting looking as these things. They look more like something you would find down at the bottom of the ocean, and they have that particularly gross look, like they came out of a Lovecraft story, right? They have that quality. Ooh, I don't want to touch that. It looks gross. And if that wasn't enough, if these things manage to grab your ass and throw you up over their head, they have a giant mouth on top of their body, full of teeth that looks like a freaking lamprey eel, and your body will just sit in there spinning around, and it will degrade all of your equipment. Isn't that lovely? Number 8, Mass of Souls. I kind of lied on that last one. I said that the Chaos Eaters were the most disgusting thing in the game, and that's actually not 100% true. The Mass of Souls is even more disgusting, and it's definitely creepier. The Chaos Eater, it's a creature. It's basically just a really hideous creature, but it's a creature. The Mass of Souls is a disgusting pile of wet, decaying corpses rotting at the bottom of a flooded city for ages. And then when you, oh God, it's gonna make me sick just thinking about it. When you drain the water and you go down into the lower area of the New Londo ruins, you go into a dark room, and the first thing you see is this hideous blob of corpses, and they've even like meshed together to form this big scary face. And then, if that's not scary and gross enough, they can vomit up goo, which, let me go ahead and clarify, that goo is rotting human flesh. Excellent. Also, they have a spear that can come out of their mouth. Number 7, I know this one's gonna sound a little weird. Hear me out. Oswald of Kareem. I know that sounds a little insane because I literally just listed 2 of the most horrific monstrosities in all of the land. And now, merely a man. Here's the deal. In Dark Souls, every time that you take out a boss, it's a wonderful feeling. You have this nice little respite from all the horror and all the death and all the pain and all the suffering and all the wonderful things that Dark Souls has in store for you. You have this brief period of time before you realize that there's some really horrible stuff you haven't started to encounter yet, right? Here's the thing. When you beat the gargoyles in the Undead Parish, you get to go up a ladder into the bell tower. You climb up the bell tower. You ring the bell, the first bell of awakening. You climb back down the bell tower, right? And what happens? Whew! You climb down the ladder, you turn around, and this dude is just standing right here like this. And he's not talking, he's just standing here like this. And he has this creepy, uncanny rictus, and it just sends chills up and down my body because I'm like, why are you so weird just standing there like that with that weird pose? Then you go to talk to him, and he even has creepy stuff to say.
Thou art welcome any time. It is only human to commit a sin.
Number 6, Invaders. Now, if there's one thing that can really get me scared in Dark Souls, it's the possibility of losing all of those wonderful souls that I spent so much time accumulating. Whenever you're in human form, you have the wonderful opportunity to enlist one of your fellow players to jump into your game and help you clear the stage. However, when you go into human form, you can also be invaded by another player. Not all of us are sweethearts and like to be sun bros and help each other out. Some of us are assholes. There are times where an invader can be far scarier than any creature in the game, because the only way to get away from an invader is to run all the way to the boss fight room, and none of your bonfires will work while you're invaded. So you have the option to either stand your ground and possibly lose to somebody who is far better than you. They may be twinking, they may just have way better gear than you at that level. If you're not prepared to fight the boss, that's pretty much instant death. Not to mention the fact that you may not be prepared to run all the way to the other side of the map to get to the boss. The reason it's not higher on the list is because if you're not in human form, they can't invade you. Number 5, one of the most intimidating creatures in the game are those big skeleton beasts that you find in the Tomb of the Giants. Actually, you know, come to think of it, those skeleton archers, they really suck because they have that big bow. They can just knock your ass off the platform into oblivion. The Tomb of the Giants, it's super dark, horrible, and scary. If they kill you, you're gonna lose your souls. You're never even gonna figure out where they're at. The darkness is probably scarier than even the creatures. It makes the level one of the hardest levels in the game. And then you have to deal with Paladin Leroy. This guy, he's really strong. And then on top of that, before you even get to fight the boss, you have to fall down in this pit. And this pit makes you take a crap ton of damage. I mean, that's kind of scary, right? You have to preemptively have enough Estus to even get to the boss and survive. The more I'm thinking about it, I would have to say the entire fucking Tomb of the Giants has to be number 5. It's the hardest level in the game. It's the level with the most scary crap. Number 4, the Basilisks. If you're gonna think about something that's scarier than the Tomb of the Giants, we would need to discuss something that's located in more than one area, because after all, when you complete the Tomb of the Giants, you're done. You don't really have to go back there. With the Basilisks, they're not as easy to avoid. First of all, the depths, while you don't have to actually do the depths to finish the game, I always play through the depths. You have tons of rats that you can farm for humanity, and there's some pretty useful items down there. When you're in the depths, there are a few cute little traps that they have set up for you in the game where you can fall through a pit, and then when you do that, you are gonna land in the most ugly hell imaginable, trapped in a corner of the sewers, surrounded by these nasty little bug-eyed bastards, and they just spray fog all over you, and it turns you into stone and it kills you. Did you know that those big things, they're not even their real eyes? You can see how tiny their eyes are, those little evil beady eyes that these little bastards have. And the thing that really sucks about these guys is once they spray their evil fog on you and they curse you, they will kill you. And the curse status in Dark Souls, boy, does it ever suck. Because when you do respawn at the bonfire, you have half of your maximum HP to work with. That is the suckiest thing in the whole game that an enemy can do to you, because dying, I mean, it's Dark Souls, you're gonna do that plenty of times, right? But have your health bar cut in half, F that, bro. And not only that, you have to find this really expensive, rare item to get rid of the curse status. The second part of this is when you go through the Great Hollow, there are also basilisks. They're not in the super contained area like in the depths. The problem with the basilisks in the Great Hollow is that they like to conglomerate around where the ladders and the holes are through the floor. So you are going to encounter them as you go down. The Great Hollow is already a very difficult level, and the Basilisks make it even worse. If you manage to make it down to the bottom of the Great Hollow and have to go back up for some reason, whoo boy, we'll get to that later. Number 3, bone wheel skeletons. There's not a lot of things in Dark Souls that are more horrible than getting cursed. However, if you can't even get through the area with a full health bar, that might suck even more. In Dark Souls, there are enemies that can kill you in seconds. Most of those enemies are bosses, and you don't have to deal with the majority of those types of enemies until the end of the level. In the catacombs, you run into these dicks, and boy, are they just a barrel of fun. They just gang up on you, spinning their wheels that have blades on them. I don't even understand how it works, because a skeleton, if you look at them, they kind of have their leg inside of the wheel, but somehow, you know, they just roll around and they just cut your ass into ribbons. Whenever I see bone wheels, I pretty much just start hauling ass. Now, the bone wheels in the catacombs, they suck. That's a total fact. Bone wheels that really suck are the ones that you find in the painted world of Ariamis, because before you can complete the level, you have to go down into this basement area. There is a switch that you must turn to open up the final door. That basement, you guessed it, is full of fucking bone wheels. You go down in there, and if you manage to get lucky enough to actually turn that switch without dying, well, they're probably gonna kill you before you get to the ladder to climb out of the basement. And if you manage to make it all the way to the ladder, they're probably gonna kill you before you can climb up the ladder. The bone wheel skeletons are so scary that at the end of the catacombs, you will haul ass running away from them into the Tomb of the Giants, the scariest, most horrible area in the game. The bone wheels are that scary. Number 2, I love the aesthetic of Dark Souls. It takes influence from fantasy, mostly dark fantasy, and one of the classic role-playing monsters is the idea that when you've done all your hard work and you look down and you see a beautiful treasure chest and you want to bend down and you want to grab that treasure and you want to flip that box open. No, it's not treasure. It's a giant mouth, and it just chomps your freaking head off. And in Dark Souls, you get the added bonus that if when the treasure chest starts to chomp on your head, if it doesn't kill you, it sprouts these enormous arms and legs, is like 15 feet tall. It will kick the piss out of you like a mule. So the Mimic is going to be what I would say is the scariest creature in Dark Souls, because for one, after the first time a Mimic gets you, you're gonna be scared of every treasure chest in every FromSoft game ever after this. Also, many times, the Mimics in Dark Souls like to hide in dark rooms, such as the one in Sin's Fortress. There's also one in Anne Orlando. And of course, we can't overlook the laughter. Yep, that's what I'd call nightmare fuel. Number 1, the scariest thing in Dark Souls is a very personal thing for me. It may be a personal thing for other players too. It's not a creature. It's not even a location. It's an idea. It's a status. It's a thing that can happen to you that's even worse than having your health bar cut in half, even worse than being scared of every dark room and being scared of every dark corner and treasure chest in the game. What I'm talking about is something that happened to me one time, and I have never forgotten it. This event that was so traumatic to me in the world of Dark Souls. I went down the Great Hollow and I went to Ash Lake and I rested at that bonfire. And you know what? I did not have the Lord Vessel, so I couldn't teleport back out of Ash Lake. I went down there, I had a lot of fun. I was just singing and dancing and just looting and killing clam monsters, and I went to the stone dragon, I cut his tail off like an asshole, and you know, I had just a big old time down there. And then when it was time to leave, I realized that there was no way to teleport out. I had to go back up the tree. The problem is, when I started going back up the tree, well, it's pretty tough. You know, you have the platforming, you have all those little spots where you can slip and fall, and that sucks really bad. But then we come back to the Basilisks that we talked about earlier, and the Basilisks, well, they managed to curse me, and with half of a health bar, I was not able to get back up the tree. I could not get to any items to take off my curse. So I ended up stuck in Ash Lake, and I couldn't get out. And after trying several times, I had to delete that character. And to this day, I will never go down to Ash Lake without the Lord Vessel. And the aggravation and stress that I went through trying to make it back up that tree with the itty bitty health bar that I had that early in the game. Yeah, that was the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me in Dark Souls. So yeah, after all my playthroughs of the original Dark Souls, that is the most horrible, terrifying experience I can think of. So that was my list of the top 10 scariest things that you'll find in the world of Dark Souls. What'd you think about my list? If you liked the video, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you want to be alerted to new videos coming up on the channel. And if you disagree with the list, or if you have any ideas of things that I forgot, go ahead and leave it in the comments section. Share the video with a friend if you think they might enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day.